Tourism is travel for pleasure. The Romans travelled to spa towns, but the concept really developed with the advent of modern transport. Some tourist sites remained popular across the decades, but others lost some of the splendour they once enjoyed due to diverse reasons. Here's a list of 8 tourist destinations in decline. The boardwalk empire that shined in the 1920s may be reaching its end. Initially conceived as a resort town, the building of luxurious hotels in the early 20th century turned it into a prime tourist destination. Atlantic City became known as the world's playground, and during the Prohibition period, it grew in popularity due to smuggled alcohol and backroom gambling. However, everything faded after World War II. The city suffered from poverty and corruption, and from the cheap fares offered to competing places like Miami Beach. That's why, in 1976, residents voted for the legalization of gambling in Atlantic City, turning it into a casino town. However, the number of visitors has been decreasing annually since 2005. Perhaps it will rise again, but it seems hard to imagine that Atlantic City will recover the splendor of the days of Nucky Thompson. We could talk about the whole of Syria, but somehow Palmyra has become a symbol for the country. The Greco-Roman ruins of Palmyra were declared a UNESCO World Heritage Site in 1980, and they were a constant tourist attraction in one of the most ancient countries in the world. In 2010, the tourism revenue in Syria was $8.4 billion, the equivalent of 14% of the country's economy. But the 2011 Syrian civil war and the occupation of the site by ISIS created an absolute catastrophe in the tourist sector. People were murdered and temples were destroyed, and the region, as well as the country, was declared a war zone. In 2016, the Syrian forces, backed by Russian airstrikes, reclaimed Palmyra in the war. However, the city will have to wait to see the evolution of the Syrian conflict to be labelled as a tourist destination once again. Lourdes is the second most important centre of tourism in France, second only to Paris. It's the third most important site of international Catholic pilgrimage in the world after Rome and the Holy Land. Thousands have reported miracles such as the curing of blindness or paralysis, and around 6 million pilgrims and tourists used to visit the town seasonally. However, in 2012 and 2013, the site suffered major flooding. Many aspects of its shrine were severely damaged, and a woman died. The renovation of Lourdes has been a very costly endeavour, covered mainly by private donations, but it hasn't been able to keep up the number of tourists it once had. In the last 2 years, numbers have declined by half, the effect of the floods, or a decreasing interest in Catholic pilgrimage. Acapulco is one of Mexico's oldest coastal destinations. In the 1950s, it reached prominence as Hollywood stars like Liz Taylor and Frank Sinatra started vacationing there. Later, in the 60s and 70s, the city changed from luxurious to a more affordable destination. However, from 2010 onwards, Acapulco has become a flashpoint for Mexico's bloody drug wars. In 2015, the city registered the horrific number of 902 homicides. But the game changer came in 2016, when 3 tourists were shot and murdered. Since then, hotel reservations are down to 40% in what was once considered paradise by most tourists. Who hasn't dreamt of seeing the pyramids in person? In Egypt, tourism has always been a hugely important part of the economy, and for many years this country was considered one of the most stable destinations in the Arab world. However, bombings and political unrest in the past decade have caused tourist numbers to drop by 45%. It all escalated when in 2015, a Russian tourist jet was destroyed shortly after takeoff in the very popular Sharm el-Sheikh. Since then, most flights simply do not fly to that region. It is too soon to say that the glory of Egypt as a tourist destination is gone, but the country is suffering. Still considered one of the UK's main tourist destinations, Blackpool is a good example of the struggle of British seaside vacation towns. What was once an incredibly popular recreation town in Lancashire has been gradually fading away. It was reported that in 2008, the number of visitors fell by 26%. Cheap flights abroad to sunnier and warmer beach destinations have presented an unresolved challenge for Britain's domestic seaside tourism, and this has severe consequences on the economy of these areas. From the year 2000 to 2011, out of the 8 communities appearing most frequently in the annual bankruptcy top 10 list, only 1 was inland. The rest were all by the sea. Will Blackpool recover its status? And how will it reinvent itself in order to do so? A sunny Italian isle in the Mediterranean with incredible beaches, Lampedusa was an ideal tourist destination. However, in 2016, thousands of refugees arrived in the island, trying to escape the horrors of their home countries. Since then, Lampedusa's tourists have gone elsewhere. Locals used to be able to find work in the hotel industry for over 8 months a year, but now they are lucky if they get 3. Migrants are kept in the specially built reception centre while they are processed and moved on to Sicily. The decline of Lampedusa's tourism is yet another result of a global problem that remains unresolved. In 2015, the British Foreign Office advised against all but essential travel to Tunisia. This was right after 38 were killed by a gunman at a hotel in Sousse, and 3 months later, 21 tourists were attacked by gunmen at the popular Bardo National Museum in the capital city of Tunis. These 2 episodes had a huge impact on the country's economy, as the number of tourists dropped by 1 million between 2014 and 2015. Its incredible resorts, its perfect beaches, its food, and the welcoming people are the reasons why tourists have traditionally chosen Tunisia over any other destination. But now this industry seems to be at risk. As we've seen, there are several reasons that explain the decay of certain tourist splendours. But when we talk about tourism, it is crucial to remember that we're not merely talking about leisure, we're also talking about something greater and much more important: the economy and people's livelihoods. Can you think of any other tourist destinations in decline? Leave us a comment below.